Thanks for watching. I'm Margot Kinberg, and this is In the Spotlight, a closer look at a crime novel. This week, we're continuing our special look at the finalists for the 2024 Niall Marsh Award for the Best in New Zealand's Crime Fiction. Today, let's turn the spotlight on Catherine Chitty's Pet. It's 1984, and Justine Creve is a 12-year-old Wellington schoolgirl who attends a Catholic school. It's hard enough to be entering the teen years, and she and her father are also dealing with her mother's recent death. It doesn't help matters that she has epilepsy, which embarrasses her. She does find solace in her best friend Amy Fong, but life doesn't hold much joy for her. Then, she and her class get a new teacher, Mrs. Price, who's just come from Christchurch. Mrs. Price is blonde, beautiful, and even glamorous, especially to the girls who envy her style and self-possession. She has a way, too, of drawing students in. At first, everything seems to be going much, much better. Justine enjoys learning, and what's even nicer is that Mrs. Price pays her extra attention. In fact, Mrs. Price has a set of favorite students who clean the blackboards, take out the trash, and are invited over to her home. This sparks jealousy amongst the other students and alienates Justine, who revels in the attention that she's getting from Amy, who doesn't trust Mrs. Price. Justine thinks Amy's just jealous, but the two girls do drift apart. Then, some unsettling things begin to happen. There are some thefts of things from the classroom, and some other things happen too. Since nothing's been stolen from Amy, she's the prime suspect, which drives her and Justine even further apart. But it's not that simple. Could something be wrong with the perfect Mrs. Price? If so, what is it? As the story goes on, things get more and more unsettling, and the story ends in tragedy. So what are the elements in this novel? What keeps it together and keeps it moving? This is a psychological suspense story as much as it is anything else. Who exactly is Mrs. Price? What, if anything, is her agenda? There's a lot of tension as her character is revealed. There's also the psychology of bullying, sexism, and the social pecking order among young teenagers. We see how the students sort themselves and try and get and stay at the top of the social pyramid. And sometimes what they do is cruel. And there's Mrs. Price's hold over especially the girls. How does she manage that? How dangerous is it? What's it all about? The story is told from Justine's point of view, first person, past tense, and that too adds a psychological element to the novel. How accurate is she in her observations? How much under Mrs. Price's spell is she? While you couldn't really call her an unreliable narrator, she is only 12 years old and she doesn't understand all of the factors involved in what's happening in the class. What's more, she has her own burdens to bear, what with the loss of her mother, her father's grief, and her epilepsy. The setting for the novel is a Catholic school in a small New Zealand town. So there's a real element of religious education, the Roman Catholic culture and its impact on the students and on Mrs. Price. Readers who went to religious schools may find some of that culture familiar. There's not a lot of violence in the novel. The tension comes instead from the psychological suspense in it. There is tragedy too, and it's clear that things will not be all right again for some of the characters. Pet offers a look at what happens when a group of 1980s young teenagers falls under the spell of an enigmatic, extremely charismatic teacher. It features a small town, a Catholic school setting, psychological tension, and the tragic outcome of idol worship. This has been In the Spotlight. I'm Margot Kinberg. Thanks for watching.